Okay, the big secret. What do men know that we don't? The stereotype. And I checked with Claire. I went, oh, that awful stereotype. And she went, no, it's the same for Labour.
In fact, it's me.
Okay, so this is the stereotype you do not have to fulfil. But it's worth remembering it's there because other people go down this route. I didn't. It's not the only way. But just be aware. Men think you become a nerd at about 18. You go to university. You become a SPAD, a special advisor to an MP. And by your mid-20s, you might try a proper job. Don't even have to be very good at it. But you might try the real world. But, oh, a bit scary, the real world. So by about 30, you've done all the connections, you've passed your tests, and you're now an official candidate. You fight your losing seat at 30. You then move on to the next electoral cycle. Remember, time is ticking, so you're 35 by now. And by 35, you get your winning seat. 2 terms, because you're not absolutely fantastic. So your first term, you're not going to be in the cabinet, but you might be a PPS. Second term, you're in the cabinet, and any time after 50, you become Prime Minister. That is what they think is the way in. Bear it in mind, because that's the route of some of the men that you might be considering going up against. But guess what? There is no one route, and there is no one way of having a good political career or a good political CV. More women's voices are needed in all public spaces. MP, yeah, sure. PM, councillor. I was leader of the council and actually had more power than William Hague, who was just a mere backbencher at that time. Do not underestimate where power is. I use power. It's a really good word. It's amoral. It's not good or it's bad, but it's ours and our right. We need them in trade union, trustees, party activists, Scotland, Wales, school governors, public bodies. Your political career can go off in many diverse routes. Do not think, once you start this journey, that you only have to be an MP. I stopped being an MP because I realised I could probably have more power and influence trying to control the Conservative Women Organisation, and I'm having much more fun. Okay, so forget that stereotype. We need diverse women from all backgrounds and diverse men who have different life experiences, just as the population we are meant to represent. Going into politics is not a tick-box prescriptive route, but it's a chance to build a set of skills that can be used politically for your political CV.
We have some excellent examples of that from the Labour side. For example, Angela Rayner, who's now our Shadow Education Secretary, left school at 16 and worked in a care home. We have Chion Wurra, who was a woman in engineering. We have Rosina Allen-Khan, who was a GP. You don't have to gain these skills in politics in order to go on to be a great politician. It's
all of us have really good women who've come off the tills at Tesco and then moved in at 16 into politics. You go in your way. Now, the real secret, and I will let you in on this one, is that women wait until they understand the process, which is why you're all here. You all thought, I better understand the process. Men don't try and understand it. So you wait till you are 110% ready. Men put themselves forward even when they're 80% ready. And this is proven by the Bath University report that came out this year and the Fawcett Society reports on barriers. The barrier is often you. Do not take away your own power by thinking there's barriers there. Use the power that you've got. So debunk the myth that there is a secret way and only the best men and only the best women know it. If you are here already, you are politically engaged. If you are here, you have all started on that journey of going into politics. You may not end up being the next Prime Minister, but it can lead you to the most amazing experiences around the world. We need women in public life. Okay, 3 main areas: skills, experience, timeliness. This is your CV, your political CV. First of all, your skills. We're going to go into them in detail in a bit more. Overview. Can you show you are good with people? You've got to have 50-second love affairs on those doors for 6 hours a day during election campaigning. You've got to be good with people.
Only 6? I'm sure we do 12 or sometimes 18 nowadays.
Can you show you have good decision-making skills so that when you're under pressure, you can show that you're clear and concise and don't faff around? What Brexit do we choose? Can you show... I didn't say that. Can you show leadership? Follow me into the war against those guns and I will deliver you safely. Will they follow you? Can you show you can handle ideas and solutions? Well, how are we going to cope with so many women choosing caring and giving up on their incomes? What solutions are we going to come up to do that? Are you the sort of person who can help put together those policies? Can you show stamina? You need stamina. Sorry, but you really need intellectual stamina and physical stamina. And can you show intellect? So when someone's going to you, you can go back, but with raspberries on.
I would throw resilience into that mix as well, I think. And if any week has demonstrated how much a woman at the top needs to be resilient to slaps this way and that way, emotional, physical, you need to be resilient.
So we've done the skills. What sorts of experience might you be using to get your political CV going? Okay, you've got to join a party. Your choice, but it really helps. At councillor level, you can be an independent, but at any other level, and the support systems in Labour, in Conservative, in Lib Dems is second to none. Without making friends, your political career will go nowhere. Join a party, make friends. If you are interested in Labour, you need also to do trade unions. Any questions on that, you'll need to go to the Labour table they'll explain how their particular system works. You could be, as you build your political CV, a councillor, a trade union official at work, a SPAD, that special advisor, the weird nerdy ones, a school governor. Have you ever thought about being a school governor? Have you written a press release? Have you ever said to your local press, I want to talk about that war memorial being defaced? Have you run a small campaign, for instance, to get pets into your local care home? Oh, that's not political. Yes, it is. Those sorts of experiences. Pets in the care home, by the way, release stress on the elderly. If your care home's really, really clinical, older people are stressed. Bring cats in, bring chickens in, bring goats in. They actually release the stress. It goes down well.
Also true of children and young people.
And children. Saved your local library. I saved my library. I got volunteers to run it. Have you asked to shadow your local MP? Asked to shadow the leader of your council group? You have the right to shadow. Takes no time at all. Have you helped in a general election or a local election? That's when you've joined the party, you start thinking about how to help. Don't just become cannon fodder and delivering leaflets. Do it once or twice, make sure everyone knows you've done it, and then go and build other experiences.
I really wish somebody had told me that.
Okay, go canvassing. Practice your 50-second love affairs on the door. Do some fundraising for your party, for somebody else's party, for anything you like. For instance, over the weekend, I ran cross-party Pankhurst parties across the whole of the UK. All those women can now say they've engaged locally, they've done press releases, they've brought women together, and actually they've worked cross-party and they've had a great time. Time learners. Don't forget women like wait to be asked. You lot like to wait to be 110%. Do you really need 6 years to build your skill? Or actually, is 6 months all you need? You know yourselves. How fast can you put it on? Men wouldn't even give themselves 6 months. They'd wake up one morning and go, oh, I think I'll be a politician, and go ahead and try and do it. Don't wait while you build your skills. Build your skills on the journey. Start the journey and then worry about your skills. Be confident if you are a lawyer, teacher, head of your department, experienced nurse, you can move faster. I was a mum with 4 kids and had done learning projects and didn't go until 38. So you use your experience your way. All parties have development programmes. So do, if you're serious, when you've started going, send your CV to Claire, who'll tell you, oh, God, no, do lots more. Oh, wow, you're fantastic. We'll get you a safe seat now. Ha, if only that were lucky. CWO and Women to Win are the Conservative equivalent. We are there to help you build your CV, help you put it together, pass the parliamentary assessment tests, get you into losing seats, winning seats, might say, not quite yet, lovey, or you're fantastic, go now. So, some of you could be here ready to fight in the next election, which in theory is not next week, but 2022. Hands up who thinks they will be fighting a losing seat in 2022. Come on, confidence, yes!
And so who thinks they might be fighting a winning seat in 2022?
You've now got a skills audit sheet. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass these women among you, and they are going to give you 3 seconds because we've run out of time. How much we give them?
I think we might need to hear from a couple of speakers and then we'll go to skills audit.
Good idea. Yeah. Because we're running out of time, You've got the skills audit on your lap, and you're going to tick every single one you think you've got that you think is suitable for a political career. But before that happens, I'm actually going to let you listen to some of the women we have here and their journeys in. Now, I've tried to get as many people as possible who have not been spads and nerdy weirdos, but it's quite hard because it's politics. So let me now... I hope I haven't got it wrong, Melanie. Let me now introduce you to Melanie's 2-minute My Journey into Political Life. What's her CV? Melanie Wars. Can I introduce you?
Do you want me to use a microphone? Or?
Yes, let's come here.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm sorry to disappoint. I did actually work in Parliament briefly quite a long time ago. But actually that's not what I've spent most of my career doing. Most of the time what I do is work for an international NGO. I've worked for various different kinds of international poverty NGOs. And I think it's really important that you don't, as Fleur and Claire said, like you don't have to be a boy kind of rising through the ranks in that traditional way, working in Westminster the whole time. I actually think it makes you a much more interesting and compelling political prospect if you've done other things out in the real world. So I was a candidate for the Labour Party in 2015 in what was then a safe Labour seat in Scotland, but we know what happened in 2015 and there weren't any safe Labour seats, it turned out. So it almost happened, but getting to that point where I could be selected for a safe seat was quite a journey. And for me, I think that is about whatever you do, that is valuable. It doesn't have to be a job in politics. I think often better if it's not. You've got real world experience to bring to the table. It makes you stand out from the others. If what you're up against is a load of CVs of people from politics, and you can say, you know, I've been an aid worker, I work, I'm a doctor, I'm a nurse, I work in retail, whatever the thing that you do is, I think it helps you to bring something different to the table. So don't feel that you have to kind of get into that political route up through Westminster. I wanted to give you 3 tips that in my experience I think are really helpful things that you can do. First one is, and Fleur touched on this, but I do think it's important, whichever your chosen political party is, you do have to roll up your sleeves and ensure that you're prepared to work hard, especially when you're coming in the front door. That does mean doing leaflet rounds, it means knocking on doors, it means showing up to by-elections, and it means taking photos and doing lots of Twitter profiling so that everyone knows that you've done it. And also when you're doing that, speak to people. Make sure they know that you're there and you're building contacts and seen as being a useful and a helpful person. So that might also be whichever area you work in. In my case, I know some things about international politics and policy. Those are useful and interesting things to know about for some people in my party. So I've been able to make myself useful to people by being able to offer up advice and knowledge about those things. Number 2, network. Show up to think tank events, whichever your chosen side is, if it's Policy Exchange or the Fabians or whatever. Go to events that are on, use them to talk to people, exchange details, and then be shameless about following up with them. Really build your political networks as much as you can so that you know people who are helpful to you, who will be able to give you advice, give you references, give you a photo next to you on your leaflets when you're going for selection. That kind of thing is really helpful. And finally, I wanted to suggest blogging. I think as women, we often think we have to be completely perfect and know every ins and out of every single issue before we put our opinion out there for others to read. I'm good at saying this, not always great at taking my own advice, but I think it really does matter. If you have an opinion about something that's happening, if you have a view, if you have knowledge to share, whatever it is, find yourself a platform within your own political party, websites, whether it's an organisation like Progress or I don't know what you have in the Tories, but equivalents over there. I'm sure there are things. Lib Dem Voice, is that a thing? You know, I'm sure there are equivalents. Those kind of websites that have blogs, they need people to write for them. So offer yourself up as someone with an opinion and start to put that out there. You'll be surprised at how many people read it, pick it up if you're not already well known, and you can promote it and use it to show that you have things to say, opinions to share, and that you'd be able to get things done if you were an MP. Those are my tips.
Now, the next one on the list, we've got Benita Palmer, and just so that you're getting double whammies, I've got Claire's CV and then my CV, and I'll be alternating them, so you can just see what it looks like as well. Hello, Benita. Do you want to come forward?
Thank you, Fleur. Thanks for putting this on today. My name's Benita Palmer, and I'm delighted to be here and hopefully encouraging loads of you to just go for it. I think what Melanie said was really comprehensive. I think as well as blogging, just put yourself out there on Twitter. If you've got an opinion, tweet about it. Because from doing that, I know I've had journalists from The Telegraph come up to me and say, can you write for us on X? And actually getting that exposure is really important. I'm lucky because when I joined the party quite young, at the age of 18, against my Labour dad's principles, but knowing what you want to do and going for it is really key. So don't let people put you off. Even though my dad was like, why are you wasting your time with the nasty Tories? I didn't listen. You need to go for it, do what you want to do, and that being sure of yourself is so important in politics. I think as well, just do you. If you like education, go and be a school governor. I've loved being a school governor for a free school in my local area. It's given me so much. And it's not, technically political, but Fleur's totally right. It gives you so many skills that you would never have thought of beforehand. I knew what my shtick was diversity, so I started up my own think tank called Modern Britain, and it's all about things I'm passionate about, and also gives me that platform to talk on a stage, to talk at party conference, to talk in the Times or on Sky News, etc. So if you've got something you're passionate about, do it, because you doing it yourself is how all these things happen. I know Policy Exchange and the Fabians are big now, but they started off as a tiny seed somewhere. You can do it yourself too. I think what's mainly key, really, as someone who sacrificed my entire 20s for politics and waking up at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning to canvass because I was a councillor at the age of 23, is to make sure you live your life, because going on those holidays, going on those trips with your friends, seeing that exhibition with your mate on a Sunday is actually what makes you you. And those experiences, having the babies, not going on that date instead of going canvassing, that's actually really important. So don't put your life off, because who knows when the next general election will be. You can't plan your life around electoral cycles. So go for it. Don't be scared. Don't doubt yourself. Just do it.
Okay, and now we've got Abina.
Hi, my name's Abner Puma. So I kind of stumbled into politics by accident, actually, believe it or not. So I was at university, I wasn't sure about what I wanted to do. I ended up contacting Baroness Amos, who used to be the leader of the House of Lords, because I wanted to explore more about what was out there in terms of politics. And it was through that it kind of opened my eyes up. So one of the things that I would suggest to you is you should write to someone that I guess inspires you in terms of the direction you want to go into, but also make sure you do your research beforehand. So, for example, if you wanted to do, say, shadow or work experience with a local MP, they're all really, really busy people. So you have to look at what would help them in terms of what they're interested in terms of finding out what their passion is, and seeing if you can, I guess, offer extra pairs of hands in terms of that area. For me, when I was looking at what I wanted to do, I actually spoke to a careers advisor, and I said I was looking at getting a job with an MP, and he actually laughed in my face and told me not to bother, because he said the chances of someone like me getting a job in Parliament are very slim. You're going to meet people that are going to knock you along the way. My advice to you is just put that negativity aside and make sure that you keep focused about what you want to do, and basically surround yourself with people that will help bring you up. Claire's very right, you do need a lot of resilience in that as well. Another good tip I would say is just really be true to yourself. Don't change yourself for anybody. I've had people try to get me to change who I am, and it really, people see through that. And I agree with Benita as well in terms of the fact that, don't live your life just on politics. You don't know when there is an election. Learn to have fun, and, schedule that in as well. And, it is important to network as well, but also keep in touch, particularly with your non-political friends, because they're the ones that are going to keep you in touch with reality as well. And also, I'll just say, I want to conclude by saying I agree with what Melanie said about writing articles as well. Just find your particular kind of niche. I don't know, I know that the Conservatives have Conservative Home. With the Labour Party, there's like the Labour list. There's basically, you can even write for the New Statesman, you don't have to be aligned to a political party. And that's really a good way of getting your names out there. And also use Twitter as well. Twitter is a good way of getting your opinion out there. And also networking virtually is a good way of actually getting your name, particularly with MPs, supporting them in terms of their issues they're looking at, doing hashtags, turning it into your own campaign. But also, I just want to conclude by saying that don't forget, if you are successful, how you got there, and have time for others that are looking to come up the ranks, because you shouldn't forget how you got there. So thank you.
Okay, now I'd like to ask Joy Morrissey to come up. Because of the short time, it's all been slightly truncated, but I will explain the sheet on your laps after Joy.
Thank you. How many of you have been volunteers before? Can I see a show of hands? Look at that, ladies. Impressive. How many of you are school governors or, there we go, have volunteered for a charity or have campaigned for something locally in your, excellent. Okay, all of those things are things that are unpaid, but you're already entering into political life. You've already taken a stand. Don't forget those things on your political CV. The service that you've done for your community, for your church, if you're a school governor, everything you're doing tirelessly behind the scenes that no one you think sees, that is what you need to put on your CV. You are probably already someone who's a community leader, someone who cares about your local community. You probably wouldn't be here if you weren't. How many of you are interested in politics because you want to make a difference? Okay, that's great. Because I think no matter what party we choose, I think we're all here and we got into politics for the right reason. I am not a traditional politician. I came here as an immigrant. I was in the film industry. I worked as an actor. I had no desire or interest in becoming a politician. But I had a very difficult pregnancy and was bedridden for 9 months. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't work. My 17-hour days in the film industry were done. I thought, what am I going to do with my life? And I joined the local Conservative Party. I was at LSE, and I saw everyone running around. You know, they were all in labor, and I thought, I'll try this party. And it was fantastic because actually I was bedridden. I was isolated. It's very difficult. I know maybe some of you have maybe experienced that as well. And to have my local counselors were the ones that came and brought me food and checked on me. I mean, it was a very sort of real politics at the grassroots level. And it made me see that no matter what party you choose, it's about your personal connection to people. And I became a community organizer, and I worked on the housing estates, and I was elected to the housing estates, to the management committee. Then I stood as a counselor. Then I worked for an MP in Parliament. And it all just progressed from my passion for caring about people. And no matter what party you choose, it's about how much you can do to make a difference. And for me, that was the Conservative Party. For some of you, it might be a completely different party. But remember that those things that you're doing, that you're quietly doing, and those things that have brought you pain and suffering, those are your biggest strengths as a female. Those things that you're vulnerable with, those are the things that you can use in your CV that will make you stand apart. I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay, on your laps, as I say, this is a slightly truncated session because you were having too much fun. Oh, Benita, I'm going to use you for the next one, first time round. We've just run out of time, my love. I apologise. On your laps, you've got your skills audit sheet. What you're meant to be doing is looking at it and ticking all the things you think you've done. But more importantly than that, when you're ticking the things that you've done, is to realise that everything on that list you have on your lap can be used politically. So I was going to get these lovely ladies in the extra 20 minutes we had to go around and to discuss which skills is there and which skills aren't. But as both Claire and I said, even driving the lorry, which I think is one of the questions, is really useful politically, because if you've got to get people to the polling station, an ability to drive with an HGV licence means you can get the minibus and get them in with the bus loads. So it's useful. Look at the skills you have. Tick that list in front of you, and then think, how can this skill be used politically? And I bet you, as you tick down and you build your confidence, you'll suddenly realise that you can and have the right to step forward. Now, I think I'm going to hand over to Claire because I've spoken too much. Okay, rather than having me and Claire, hands up who would like to hear Anita for the last 3 minutes. Okay, Anita Boateng. Question and answer, very quickly, since she'll finish off. Question and answers, go to the different stalls of the different parties and ask in detail any questions you want about different journeys. Anita Boateng.
Thank you very much, Fleur. Now, Fleur's not going to be very happy with me because I am a special advisor, unfortunately, to a member of the cabinet. And I'm also a local Redbridge councillor. The thing I say about that is, obviously, it's a very conventional route. But I think I got at it an unconventional way in the sense that my parents weren't at all political. They're immigrants from Ghana. My mother votes Labour. When I was growing up, she worked as a cleaner. My dad was a driver and voted Conservative. And when I decided I wanted to go into politics, first of all, they were devastated. They wanted me to do medicine. But also, I think that you do realise that you don't necessarily need to have all those professional connections. I had absolutely none in my family. And to get my first job in Parliament, I was working as a waitress and also doing an internship in order to get the experience to get in. So the first tip I'd say is really just take a risk. If it's something you know you really want to do, there might be something you might have to work a little bit harder. You won't have, to be able to pick up the phone and say, oh, I know you, you're an MP, would you like to give me 2 weeks? But go for it anyway. The other thing I'd say is that certainly you do need to also know that there's always going to be someone in the room who maybe doesn't see what you have to offer, but there's always going to be someone else. And so that first kind of, I'm not sure, can you do anything for me, will you be helpful, is going to be there, but know that there's always the person after that and the person after that. And so when I went from working in Parliament and then I worked in TV and worked on a show called Question Time and was a producer there, it's one of those things that doesn't necessarily come by every day, but if you understand that even though you don't have the connections, you might have the skills, go for it anyway and see what happens. The final thing I'd say is there's a lot that's been said about networking. And I think networking is really, really important. And a key part of that, I think, is not just sort of going to things and saying, hi, this is my name, and hoping that people remember you and want to drop you an email and have coffee. But it's finding people that you feel you have a connection with, like a political connection, an affinity, something about their background. When I decided I wanted to go into politics, there was absolutely nobody, I wasn't as fortunate as Abner, to have someone that I was like, well, you are exactly what I want to do. So instead, I just found people that I thought, even though you're not from my kind of background, there's something about the way you're talking and the way that you understand these issues that really resonates with me. And those people are the ones that are going to help you push along. So build those genuine relationships with people that really do feel like they're speaking your language. And I think that will make a real difference. That was short and sweet.